Hi everyone, it's Karen from Stitches and Things. Something that we get asked an awful lot, or I guess it's not so much asked, but the statement is, oh, I hate knitting garments because when I've knitted them, they never look right, they never fit right. And half the problem I've found in all my experience is that people don't always choose the right size to knit. So what I'll do is I'll just go over the different shapes of the garments, what positive and negative ease is, and then we'll have a look at a pattern and we'll tell you how to figure out what size you should choose for yourself. All right, so to start with, I've put this old black thing on, and I'm going to start with the shapes of garments. So the shapes of your garments, I've drawn on this sleeve. This is a raglan sleeve. So the raglan is a diagonal sleeve with your sleeves set in on a diagonal across your shoulder. So these are the three most common. The garment I'm actually wearing is a set-in sleeve. I think my chalk's a bit worn off. So your set-in sleeve comes down and under your arm. So it's actually got like a U-shaped shaping and your sleeve is set in there. And then you've got a drop shoulder, and your drop shoulder seam would be here. So you can actually see, and I'll show you, this is the drop shoulder garment. So it's got no shaping through here. It just goes straight up. So it'll sit more off your shoulder. So the benefits of the three designs, the three styles. A set-in sleeve, if your garment is too big for you, you will never know. Or you might know if it's huge, but generally there's no seam that's hanging off. So you'll find that they can fit better. Great for little children that are growing, because if they're a bit too big, then their sleeve isn't hanging off, so it doesn't look too big, but they'll just grow into them nicely because of the shape of the raglan. And the raglans are quite a comfortable knit to wear because they don't tend to drag. The set-in sleeve gives you a more fitted garment than a drop shoulder. Very, very common. Probably these two are the most common, but your set-in sleeve just gives you a more fitted garment. Your drop shoulder is going to hang off your shoulder a little bit. I actually find if you're a bit bigger in the bust, then with a set-in sleeve, sometimes to fit, if you're bigger in the bust, to get it to fit in the bust, your shoulder will hang off. So your seam will hang off. Let's get rid of this because I can actually show you better, I think, on this color. Okay, so there's my sleeve seam, and that should be sort of right on the point of your shoulder is where your seam should be if your garment fits correctly. If you have to buy a bigger garment because you're bigger in the bust, then you'll find that your sleeves look like they're hanging off. And you'll notice it particularly in things that are fitted like a jacket, like a denim jacket. To get it to fit your body, then it hangs off a bit. Whereas with a drop shoulder, that doesn't happen, and you end up with a little more room in the body, and you've still got, like, you haven't got a garment that looks like it's too big for you. So sometimes the drop shoulder, if you're bigger in the body, can look better. So what I'm going to talk about now is, you may have heard of ease, positive and negative ease, or even neutral ease. So what happens is the ease is, and I'm going to work in round numbers, if I had a body and we would measure under the arms around the biggest part, if my body was 100 centimeters, and my garment measured 100 centimeters, that would be a neutral ease. But generally, most garments that you buy off the rack that fit you nicely have a 10 centimeter positive ease. In other words, your garment will measure 110 centimeters. So what we generally do is if you have a look, I'll just find what 10 centimeters positive ease would be. Okay, so that's 10 centimeters positive ease all the way around, I think, about there. So that's sort of a garment that generally will fit fairly nicely. The one I'm wearing has probably only got 4 or 5 centimeters positive ease because it's quite fitted and it's quite stretchy. So if something isn't stretchy, it needs to have more ease. Otherwise, everything gets squashed. So some garments, depending on how they fit, their ease will be different. So a drop shoulder will have, so if my regular garment was 110, and that would generally be your set-in sleeve garment, and also your raglan will have a 10 centimeter standard positive ease, unless it's designed to be a big fit, generally 10 centimeters positive ease. Our drop shoulder, because our body is knitted straight up, will have anywhere between 6 and 12 centimeters positive ease, sometimes more. So that just gives you an idea. I was just having a look at, oh, here we go. This one here. Now I'll see if I can find a picture. I haven't got a picture of it on a human, but this one is like a poncho jumper. So you can see the sleeves on that start way down here, and the measurements on that one is on 100 centimeter chest. The actual size of the garment is 170 because the sleeves start way down here. So have a look at the picture of the garment, and look, sometimes the models can be extra skinny and they didn't fit the garment anyway. But if you have a look at where the sleeve edge is, and then what we generally do, and I'm going to show you, this one's a one that's got 10 centimeters positive ease. So most people, they will go, oh, I'm a medium, I'm going to knit a medium. That's it. And they don't look any further. And the downfall to that is if you don't look at how much ease it's got, and it's got 40 centimeter ease, then you'll say, oh, I knitted it, it looks too big. I don't like it that big. So what we generally do, if we're trying to fit someone to a garment and we know it's a raglan or a set-in sleeve, we will have a look at the pattern, and let's have a look. The pattern, we're not going to actually look at the person. I don't generally measure the person. I will have a look at the actual sizes on the pattern. In this case, it's 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140 centimetres. So all we would do is we would put the tape around and have a look at our centimetres and say, is that the size that you want? No, I want bigger. So then you go up to the next size. Okay, that's the size you want. We look at that. That says it's 120. That's a double XL if I wanted 120 in these particular ones. And that's generally how we figure it out. Obviously, we have to be mindful if it's a drop shoulder. Now, this black one I was wearing, out of pure interest, when I drew the drop shoulder onto it, let's see if it's still there. When I drew the drop shoulder onto it, because it is a set-in garment, it's all inside out. All right. Other side, I think. So what happened was I've measured where the drop shoulder was. Where I measured where the drop shoulder was, which is here. So if that's where the shoulder finishes, the body actually only measured 6 centimetres more, having the drop shoulder there. I was actually looking at another Patons pattern that only had, the drop shoulder was very small. It was only like a small to here. Others can be quite a long drop shoulder. So have a look at your ease. So the difference between the garment and the pattern, and see how far you want it to be. Don't just pick your body size, because you'll get it wrong 99% of the time. Most people either don't measure themselves, some are in denial. And the other thing is, if you don't measure yourself, then how are you going to know whether the garment's going to fit? And you're going to do all that knitting and nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to turn the camera around and I'm just going to show you. This is a commercial garment here. Have I got in shot there pretty much? All right, so I've got a measuring tape and I'm going to measure from the point of the underarm to the point of the underarm. Okay, in this case, this is a drop shoulder garment. So it is 62 centimetres across. And this one is a ladies, oh, that says small medium, but it's a ladies medium. But the thing is that We know that that is 62 centimetres across. So the pattern by rights, once we've cast on our band and we've knitted a little bit, should be 124. So if you've knitted a little bit, rather than knitting a whole lot and go it doesn't fit, how about measuring your knitting? Because obviously, let's go back to the 100 centimetres because it's easy. So if your garment was supposed to measure 100 centimetres all up, your front should measure 50 centimetres across and your back should measure 50 centimetres across. If they're bigger than that, the garment's going to be bigger than the pattern. If they're smaller, it's going to be smaller. Just keep an eye on it. If it looks too small, measure it. Lay it out flat, measure it, make sure that it is going to fit you, because don't do all the knitting and get to the top, join it all up and go, oh, it doesn't fit. You've got all the opportunities to measure it as you're making it. So don't, you're in control. It's a custom made garment. Don't just blindly knit it off the pattern. If it doesn't look right, do some measuring. It's quite simple. The other thing that we get wrong is our tension. So just think about my garment here, and we'll go back to the 100 centimetre model. If the front of my garment is 50 centimetres, and I divided that into 10 centimetre blocks, because that's how much a tension square is. There's 5 10 centimetre blocks here. If I was 1 or 2 stitches out with my tension for every 10 centimetre block, my garment could be this much bigger or smaller. So most people that I ask will tell me, I'll say, what's your tension like? Oh, my tension's average. Everyone will tell me they're an average knitter. Very, very rarely I'll be told that that they're loose or tight. And I'll say, so when did you last check your tension? Oh, I don't check my tension, but I'm an average knitter. So 99% of people will tell me they're average, but have never checked or don't check regularly. So if you've been knitting with 8-ply and you knit, and it all looks good, yep, that looks pretty average, it looks pretty neat, it doesn't look loose, it doesn't look tight, I must be average. Then you go and use 4-ply, different needles, different yarn, different stretch, and you're going to get a different result. The same as if we knit on really big needles, a lot of people find their tension is completely different because you've got chunky yarn running through your fingers, you're holding big needles, everything changes. Some people knit a lot looser on big needles because, their movements are bigger, and some people knit suicidally tight on big needles. So don't assume that your tension is correct. Don't assume that you're a medium, a large, an extra large, or whatever size you think you are. Do some measuring. Measuring tapes are like a buck. So don't be afraid to measure. Same as when you're knitting for children. If it says it's for a 4 to 5-year-old, it's amazing how many people say, oh, they're only 1, but they're a big child. I'll knit a 3-year-old size. And the thing comes down to their knees. In 3 years, it's not in fashion or it's been pushed to the back of the cupboard, never gets worn. So, we want our things to be appreciated. But my biggest thing with people that come in and want to choose a pattern, 99% of them will tell me, oh, I have to make a double XL or I have to make a small. It's like, well, have you measured? Do you know? Oh, no, but I always wear small and I like my clothes like this. But then, it's really hard because you go and buy a shirt, it's got no stretch. You go and buy a jumper, it's got stretch. You go and buy something that's Lycra, extra stretchy. So just don't assume that, what you're doing. And then just take a big note on your pattern, the shape. So you can look at your ease and go, oh my God, that's got 20 centimetres positive Eve. Oh, hang on a minute. It's a drop shoulder. It's going to work. So have a look at the possibilities. And if you're a beginner knitter, drop shoulder is the way to go. The problem that we have with things that if you're a newer knitter, you'll get to a point here where if it's a set-in sleeve or a raglan, you're doing decreases on this side. You get to the neck, then you have to do decreases on this side. You've got decreases going both ways. Then you've got some shoulder slope. If you newer knitter, knit a drop shoulder. This side is at least straight. You can concentrate on getting your shaping right in your neck and you're going to have a nice experience when you're knitting. That, I think, is all I had to say on that subject. But yeah, like some patterns don't have the finished size. Steer clear of them. If they've only got the finished size, then get the measuring tape out and see what the finished size is going to look like. Some will say this is the finished size and it's got 20 centimeters of positive ease. So you go, okay, if I knit it and it's that size, it's going to have this much hanging out. Just take a close look. Yarn's expensive, time is poor, and you want to make sure that you do a good job of what it is you're making and be really happy with the result when you're done. So that's, and what I'm talking about now can be garments that are top down, bottom up, seams, no seams, but measure your garment, check your tension, measure your body, check your pattern, make sure your yarn matches your pattern. You can't use 10 ply and 8 ply unless you're a mathematician. Just ask an expert if you're stuck. Don't just blindly knit something and be disappointed and then it goes in the naughty corner and then suddenly you've got no inclination because everything you knit doesn't work. Ask an expert. Talk to someone in your wool shop, in your group that you knit with that's been, you know, doing it for a long time. Some people haven't been doing it for a long time. They're just really, really clever. So don't be afraid to ask questions. There are no dumb questions, and a lot of this mathsy sort of stuff does take a fair bit to get your head around. Just get some help, have some fun, knit something really cool and that you're really, really happy with. All right, that's it for me. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks everyone. Bye.